Have you ever eaten something every single day believing it was safe, even healthy, only to later find out it might be quietly damaging your kidneys without you feeling a thing? What if I told you that one of the most common foods in your breakfast, something millions of Americans eat without a second thought, can either protect your kidneys or slowly push them toward failure, depending entirely on how you eat it? I'm not saying this to scare you. I'm saying it because over the years I've watched too many patients walk into my clinic holding lab results they didn't expect: rising creatinine, foamy urine, declining kidney function, and say the same thing every time: "Doctor, I eat clean. I don't eat junk. I even eat eggs because I thought they were healthy." And that's the moment I pause. Because the problem was never the egg itself, it was the way it was eaten. Hi, I'm Dr. Mark Ellis, and for more than a decade, I've worked closely with patients struggling with diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and early kidney disease. And I can tell you this with absolute certainty: some of the most dangerous kidney damage doesn't come from fast food or sugar. It comes from small, well-intentioned habits repeated every morning. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the most common egg-related mistakes. I see mistakes that silently overwork your kidneys, strain the filtration system, and accelerate damage year after year without obvious symptoms. One of these mistakes is so common that many people make it every single morning, thinking it's the healthy choice, when in reality, it puts the kidneys under constant stress, especially if you're over 40 or managing blood sugar or blood pressure. The good news is this kidney damage doesn't happen overnight, and neither does kidney protection. When you understand what's actually happening inside your body and make a few precise changes, the same food that harms your kidneys can become a powerful ally instead. So stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to eat eggs the right way, in a way that supports kidney function, reduces strain, and helps protect your health for years to come. Let's start with the first mistake, one that many people still believe is healthy, especially if they grew up hearing it from parents or grandparents eating raw eggs or very runny, soft-boiled eggs. I've had patients look me straight in the eye and say, "Doctor, I've been drinking raw eggs for years. I thought it was good for my voice, my strength, my recovery." And I understand where that belief comes from. Decades ago, food systems were cleaner, people were younger, immune systems were stronger. But today, especially if you're over 40 or managing diabetes, blood pressure, or early kidney issues, that habit becomes a quiet risk. Here's what most people don't realize. Raw egg whites contain a compound that interferes with the absorption of key B vitamins, nutrients essential for nerve health, muscle function, and metabolic balance. Over time, poor absorption doesn't just cause fatigue or hair thinning. It increases metabolic stress, which means more waste products for the kidneys to filter every single day. And there's another layer. Raw or undercooked eggs carry a much higher risk of bacterial contamination. For a healthy young adult, that might mean mild stomach discomfort. But in someone with insulin resistance or weakened immunity, it can trigger inflammation that spreads far beyond the gut, directly impacting the kidney's delicate filtration units. Clinically, we see this reflected in subtle lab changes, mild increases in creatinine, early protein leakage, and urine signs that the kidneys are working harder than they should. Not overnight, but slowly, quietly, and consistently. The solution isn't complicated. Eggs should be fully cooked. The egg white must be completely firm. The yolk can remain slightly soft but never runny. That single change dramatically reduces infection risk and improves nutrient absorption, making eggs far easier on the kidneys. But here's the truth: avoiding raw eggs alone won't protect your kidneys, because the next mistake is even more common and far more damaging than most people realize. Now, many people hear the warning about raw eggs and feel relieved. They say, "That's not me. I never eat eggs raw." And that's where the second mistake quietly slips in, one that feels safer, more responsible, even healthier at first glance. I'm talking about heavily fried eggs. Crispy edges, bubbling oil, deep golden browning. For many households, that's the definition of a proper egg. But inside the body, that cooking method creates a very different story. I once worked with a patient who proudly told me he only ate eggs well done. No runny yolks, no softness, everything cooked hard. His cholesterol kept climbing. His blood pressure slowly crept up, and his kidney markers were drifting in the wrong direction, despite cutting sugar and processed foods. Here's the science most people never hear. When eggs are exposed to very high heat and oil, the proteins and fats undergo oxidation. This process generates inflammatory compounds that irritate blood vessels, especially the tiny fragile vessels inside the kidney's filtration system. Over time, that inflammation stiffens those vessels, reduces blood flow, and forces the kidneys to work under higher pressure. Studies show that foods cooked at high temperatures in oil significantly increase markers of oxidative stress and systemic inflammation. For someone with insulin resistance or hypertension, that inflammatory load compounds daily, quietly accelerating kidney damage. And the calories add up too. A boiled egg is roughly 70 calories. A heavily fried egg can easily double that, driving metabolic stress even higher. The fix is simple but powerful. Use low heat. Use a non-stick pan. A light spray of oil, or even better, steam the egg gently with a splash of water and a lid. You still get flavor, but without the inflammatory burden. But even if you cook eggs gently, that alone won't protect your kidneys. Because the next mistake, one involving the yolk, is where many people unknowingly cross the danger line. Once people hear about raw eggs and overheated frying, many feel they've solved the problem. They switch to boiling reduced oil and breathe a sigh of relief. But this is where the third mistake quietly takes over, and it's one of the most misunderstood ones of all: eating too many egg yolks. I can't count how many patients have said this to me: "Doctor, I heard eggs are fine now. Cholesterol isn't a problem anymore, right?" And they're partially correct, but only if you're metabolically healthy. For people with diabetes, high cholesterol, or declining kidney function, the story changes completely. The egg yolk is nutrient-dense, yes, but it's also rich in phosphorus. When kidneys are strong, excess phosphorus is filtered and removed efficiently. As kidney function declines even slightly, phosphorus begins to accumulate in the bloodstream, and that's where problems begin. Clinically elevated phosphorus is linked to bone loss, vascular calcification, skin itching, and deep, unexplained body aches, symptoms many older adults mistakenly attribute to just aging. In reality, these are often early signals that the kidneys are under strain. I remember a patient who ate 2 or 3 whole eggs every morning, believing he was protecting his muscles. His labs told a different story. Phosphorus levels were creeping up, and his kidney filtration rate was slowly dropping. He wasn't overeating junk, he was overeating the wrong part of a healthy food. Here's the adjustment that makes all the difference. Whole eggs can still be part of your diet, but in moderation. If kidney function is normal, 1 whole egg a day may be reasonable. If there's existing kidney stress, limit yolks to 2 or 3 per week and rely more on egg whites, which provide high-quality protein with minimal phosphorus. That single shift reduces kidney load without sacrificing nutrition. But knowing how many yolks to eat still isn't enough, because the next mistake doesn't come from quantity, it comes from what you eat eggs with, and that combination can quietly undo everything you've done right so far. By this point, many people feel confident. They cook eggs properly, limit the yolks, and believe they're finally doing everything right. But this is where one of the most dangerous and overlooked mistakes appears, not because of the egg itself, but because of what it's eaten with. I once treated a patient who followed every rule. He boiled his eggs, avoided frying controlled portions, yet his kidney numbers kept worsening. When I asked him to walk me through his mornings, he said something that immediately raised a red flag. "I usually eat eggs with soy milk, or I drink strong green tea right after breakfast." That's healthy, right? That combination sounds harmless, even virtuous. But inside the digestive system, it creates a problem most people never hear about. Soy milk contains compounds that can interfere with protein digestion from eggs. Instead of being broken down and absorbed efficiently, part of that protein remains incomplete. The body then has to process extra nitrogen waste, and guess where that burden ends up? The kidneys. Now add strong tea. Tea contains polyphenols and tannins that bind to proteins and minerals, forming complexes that slow digestion and reduce gut motility. Over time, this doesn't just cause bloating or constipation. It increases the risk of waste buildup, mineral imbalance, and even kidney stone formation, especially in people already prone to kidney stress. I often pause here and ask patients directly, have you been doing this too? If so, you're not alone. And this is exactly why so many people feel they're eating clean, yet still see their labs worsen. The solution isn't to ban soy milk or tea, it's timing. After eating eggs, stick with warm water or plain water, If you enjoy soy milk or tea, wait at least 1 to 2 hours. That simple spacing dramatically reduces kidney workload. But here's the thing, even perfect food combinations won't save your kidneys if you're making the next mistake. Because what you do after cooking eggs can quietly be just as harmful as cooking them wrong in the first place. At this stage, some people feel they've finally figured it out. They cook eggs gently, pair them correctly, and think I've fixed the problem. But there's another habit, one that feels practical, even responsible, that quietly puts kidneys under strain, eating cooked eggs that have been stored overnight and reheated. I hear this all the time. Doctor, I boil a bunch of eggs on Sunday and eat them throughout the week. Or I cooked extra last night, so I just warm it up in the morning. It sounds efficient. It sounds harmless. But for older adults or anyone with kidney stress, it's not as safe as it seems. Here's why. Eggs are nutrient-dense, which also makes them an ideal environment for bacterial growth once they're cooked, especially if the shell is cracked or removed. Even in the refrigerator, bacteria can slowly multiply. Reheating doesn't always eliminate the problem. It often just masks it. There's also a digestive issue most people never consider. Each time eggs are reheated, their protein structure changes. The proteins become tougher, denser, and harder to break down. For younger people with strong digestion, this may not matter much. But as we age, stomach acid and digestive enzymes naturally decline. Undigested protein then travels into the gut where it produces nitrogen-based waste. And once again, the kidneys pay the price. They must filter and eliminate that excess waste day after day. Clinically, this shows up as subtle fatigue, bloating, and gradually worsening kidney markers that seem to have no clear cause. The solution is simple, but it requires a mindset shift. Eggs are fast to cook. 5 to 7 minutes is all it takes. Prepare only what you'll eat that meal. If you've cooked extra, share it with someone younger and healthier. Don't turn convenience into a long-term burden on your kidneys. But even if you cook eggs fresh every time, there's one final mistake that overrides everything we've discussed so far. And this last one is the most dangerous of all because it directly determines whether kidneys survive or fail. And now we come to the final mistake, the one that quietly overrides everything else we've talked about so far. Because even if you cook eggs properly, eat them fresh, control the yolks, and pair them correctly, this single habit can still push the kidneys past their breaking point. That mistake is eating eggs with too much salt, especially salted eggs. I want you to picture what salt actually does inside the body. Sodium pulls water into the bloodstream. More water means more volume. More volume means higher blood pressure. And that pressure doesn't just stay in the large arteries, it slams directly into the kidney's microscopic filtration units over and over, day after day. I've seen patients who ate only one salted egg with plain rice or porridge, believing it was a light meal. But one salted egg can contain several times the sodium of a regular egg. For kidneys that are already aging or weakened, that's not a small load, it's a direct assault. Clinically, excessive sodium accelerates the exact pathway that leads to kidney failure, rising blood pressure, stiffened blood vessels, damaged glomeruli, and progressive loss of filtration. This is not theory. This is the most common road that leads people from mild kidney issues to dialysis. What makes this mistake especially dangerous is that it feels normal. Dipping boiled eggs in salt, adding soy sauce or fish sauce for flavor, choosing salted eggs because they're convenient and satisfying. But the kidneys don't feel flavor, they feel pressure. The solution doesn't require eliminating eggs. It requires retraining taste. Eggs already have natural richness. Eat them plain. If needed, use herbs, pepper, garlic, or a light squeeze of lemon instead of salt. If you do use seasoning, dilute it and use far less than you think you need. Because here's the truth. Salt is the difference between kidneys that slowly recover and kidneys that fail. And now that you've heard all 6 mistakes, the most important question becomes this: what happens when you fix them? And how quickly can your kidneys begin to feel the difference? That's what we'll talk about next. Before we finish, I want you to pause for a moment and take a breath. If you recognize yourself in any of these habits, please don't feel guilty and don't feel afraid. The fact that you're still watching means you care about your health, and that already puts you one step ahead of where many people realize the problem too late. Kidney damage doesn't happen in a single day. And the good news is protection doesn't either. It starts with small, consistent choices. Something as simple as how you prepare and eat one egg can reduce strain on your kidneys, lower inflammation, and help those filtration units work a little more comfortably every single day. You don't need extreme diets. You don't need fear. You just need the right knowledge. If this video helped you understand your body a little better, I encourage you to save this video so you can come back to it later or share it with someone you care about. Many people are silently struggling with kidney issues without even realizing it, and one small piece of information can make a real difference. And if you want to keep learning how to protect your kidneys, manage blood sugar, blood pressure, and age with strength instead of fear, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Every week, we share clear, practical medical knowledge to help you take better care of your health before problems become irreversible. Most importantly, remember this: it is not too late. Your kidneys respond to how you treat them. With the right habits, the right timing, and the right understanding, you can support them for years to come. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next video.